Eli Mercer had seen many battles, but nothing prepared him for the silence of Varian 6 after the latest skirmish. The sky was a dull gray, streaked with the smoke of destroyed ships and burning settlements. Broken buildings jutted out of the rocky plains and scattered debris crunched under his boots as he moved cautiously. He had been sent on a recovery mission, tasked with rescuing survivors before enemy patrols could return. The wind carried a strange metallic scent, sharp in his nostrils, and every step reminded him that this world had no mercy. He rounded a corner of what had once been a small city square and froze. A faint, uneven glow caught his eye. At first he thought it was a reflection from broken glass, but as he drew closer he saw a small figure lying on the ground. The creature was unlike anything he had seen, tall enough to be human-like, yet slim with limbs that seemed almost fragile. Its skin shimmered in shades of pale blue, and faint lines of light traced across its arms and legs, pulsing slowly as if reflecting its fading life. The child, or what appeared to be a child, trembled weakly, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Eli's training kicked in. He dropped to his knees beside her and scanned her with his portable analyzer. The device beeped frantically, unable to calibrate to her alien physiology. Her vital signs were failing fast. Medkits and standard stimulants were useless. Her life was slipping away. He cursed under his breath, his mind racing. "Please, hold on," he whispered. He looked at the small med pack strapped to his side. It was designed for humans, not aliens. Nothing he had could save her. He cursed the bureaucracy of the military for not preparing them for this. Then a thought came to him. During basic xenobiology training, he remembered reading about experimental transfusions, using human blood to stabilize alien organisms temporarily. The theory was untested in real conditions and extremely risky. He might not survive, and she might not either. But he had no other option. He scanned the child's veins, trying to locate a safe point to start the transfusion. She whimpered, tiny sounds that echoed in the silent square. Her glowing eyes met his, filled with fear and something he could not name. Gritting his teeth, Eli connected the tubing, bracing himself. The moment he opened the valve, warmth surged through him, followed by a strange burning sensation as his blood merged with her alien enzymes. The hours that followed felt like a lifetime. Eli lay beside her on the cold ground, sweating and trembling, every nerve alert. The girl's glow began to brighten faintly, her breathing stabilizing. Her lips twitched, forming the faintest hint of a smile. She reached out a small hand, touching his arm weakly. And Eli felt something he had not in a long time: hope. By the time reinforcements arrived, the child was breathing steadily, her life no longer in immediate danger. But the brass did not understand. They argued that she was an enemy, that saving her could compromise the mission. Eli stood firm, refusing to leave her behind. He carried her back to the evacuation ship, ignoring the heated protests of his superiors. Inside the medbay, the hum of the ship's engines was the only sound. Eli laid her on a cot, scanning her again. Her pulse was steady, though still irregular. She looked up at him with wide eyes, blinking slowly as if trying to communicate. Eli crouched beside her, trying to offer comfort, speaking softly in words she could not fully understand. Over the next few days, as the ship traveled through the war-torn system, Eli and the girl formed a silent connection. He learned her name, Sarah, through gestures and sounds. She learned his name in return. He fed her carefully measured doses of nutrients, monitored her vitals, and kept her warm in the cold metallic medbay. Each day her strength grew, and with it their bond deepened. One evening, as the ship sailed past the edge of a glowing nebula, Sarah touched his chest. She pressed her small hand against him, her fingers warm despite the cool air of the medbay. Eli felt a strange pulse, almost like a heartbeat echoing within him, though he knew it was not his own. She whispered something in her language, a soft string of sounds that carried weight he could feel but not understand. Her eyes shone with gratitude, and though he did not know the words, he understood the meaning. She owed him her life. Eli smiled gently and ruffled her hair, careful not to startle her. He thought of the soldiers he had lost in previous battles, the ones who never had anyone to care for them when they were injured. In that moment, saving Sarah felt like more than duty. It felt like redemption. For once, he was not just a soldier. He was someone capable of making a real difference. The days turned into a week, and Sarah began to recover more rapidly than anyone expected. Her skin glowed brighter, her eyes clearer, and her movements grew more confident. Yet something strange happened. Eli started feeling the effects of the transfusion. His muscles ached and fatigue settled deep into his bones. The alien enzymes were integrating into his bloodstream in ways the doctors had warned could be dangerous. He ignored it for Sarah's sake, but he knew he could not delay medical attention much longer. When the human ship finally arrived at a secure Terran outpost, they were greeted by doctors who immediately examined both of them. Eli watched nervously as machines scanned Sarah, interpreting her vitals with ease. She was healing beyond expectations, and the doctors exchanged looks of amazement. Then they turned to Eli, and he saw concern in their eyes. His blood, now fused with alien enzymes, was behaving unpredictably. He was warned he needed treatment, but Eli refused to leave Sarah's side. That night, as the outpost quieted and the hum of life support filled the halls, Sarah approached him again. She climbed onto the bed beside him, her small hand finding his once more. This time her touch was firm and deliberate. She whispered her language, and though he could not understand, he felt the depth of her gratitude and the bond forming between them. It was something beyond words, a connection built on trust, sacrifice, and shared life. Eli's eyes softened. "We'll be okay," he said quietly, hoping she could sense his reassurance even if she could not understand the words. "I won't let anything happen to you." Sarah leaned against him, her eyes closing briefly. Her glow seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, a visible symbol of the strange link they now shared. Eli wondered what kind of life awaited them. An alien girl saved by a human soldier, a bond neither species had ever seen before. Yet he felt certain of one thing. This moment, fragile as it was, had changed both of them forever. Days passed, and their connection only grew stronger. Sarah began to mimic his words, learning slowly, and Eli tried to learn hers. In the evenings, they would sit quietly, exchanging gestures, sharing the silence that had become so comfortable. He realized that she was more than just a survivor. She was a teacher, a reminder that compassion could bridge even the deepest divides. Then one morning, Sarah's mother arrived. She was tall, regal, and radiated authority. Her eyes, a mirror of Sarah's, scanned the medbay, taking in the scene. She did not speak at first, merely observing the child alive and the human who had saved her. Finally, she approached and spoke in measured tones. Eli could not understand the words fully, but Sarah's small hand rose to touch her mother's arm, and a smile spread across the woman's face. Through careful translation, Eli learned what she had said. "He has given life to my daughter. He is part of our family now." Eli's heart skipped a beat. Part of their family. He had expected gratitude, but this was something far beyond what he had imagined. Sarah looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with hope and something deeper, trust. Eli felt a sense of pride, of purpose he had rarely experienced in all his years of service. He had come to Varion 6 expecting war, destruction, and loss. Instead, he had found life, connection, and a bond that crossed species, cultures, and even galaxies. He realized, as he looked at Sarah sleeping peacefully, that this was only the beginning. The journey ahead would be uncertain, dangerous, and full of challenges, but they would face it together. A human and an alien, bound not by blood alone, but by something far more enduring. A shared moment of compassion that had changed both of their destinies forever. And as the stars shone outside the medbay window, Eli Mercer understood that the true reward of his actions was not in medals, recognition, or orders. It was in the life he had saved and the bond that now connected him to a world he had never truly known. Eli Mercer had never imagined that saving a life could change the course of history. Yet here he was, standing on the threshold of something beyond comprehension. The Velaran city sprawled around him, a network of glowing towers and floating walkways that shimmered like starlight caught in water. He had never seen technology like this even in the human core systems. Yet what captured his attention most was not the city itself. It was the people moving through it with grace and precision, their skin glinting faintly in every shade of the spectrum and the quiet way they watched him. Curious yet respectful, Sarah walked beside him, her small hand clasped tightly in his. She had recovered fully from the transfusion, her glow now steady and strong, and her steps confident. Eli felt a surge of pride and relief. Against all odds, he had saved her, and now they were walking into the heart of her world as guests, not prisoners. They were led to a towering building at the center of the city, a palace of glass-like material that seemed to bend light around it. Sarah's mother, the Veleron scientist who had once feared losing her daughter, met them at the entrance. Her presence was commanding, yet there was warmth in her eyes when they met Eli's. She spoke slowly, carefully, translating Sarah's words into Terran language. "You have given life to my daughter," she said. "You have risked everything for her. Our people do not forget such acts." Eli nodded, unsure what to say. He had only acted out of instinct, out of the basic human need to help someone in danger. Yet the weight of her words settled over him. In their society, gratitude was not a simple thank you. It was a bond, a promise that could never be broken. The scientist gestured for them to follow, leading them deeper into the palace. The walls were lined with panels of light that displayed histories, knowledge, and stories of the Veleran people. Eli felt overwhelmed but fascinated. He had grown up studying alien civilizations in theory, but seeing one so advanced and yet so different from humanity was humbling. Sarah's mother paused before a chamber that glowed brighter than the others. She opened the doors and Eli stepped inside cautiously. The room was filled with crystalline structures that hummed softly, as if alive. In the center stood a large pool of liquid light, rippling gently. Sarah ran ahead and touched the edge, her glow merging with the light of the pool. The effect was mesmerizing. Tendrils of light reached out and wrapped around her, as if welcoming her home. Eli watched, unsure what was happening, until Sarah turned to him. She gestured, and he felt the connection, the bond that had formed during the transfusion. It was no longer just life-saving blood shared. It was something deeper, something neither human nor Veleran had fully experienced before. The pool, he realized, was a vessel of her people's healing and life energy, and now it recognized him as part of her circle. He knelt beside her, and the pool's light reached toward him. A warmth spread through his body, unfamiliar but soothing. His earlier fatigue from the transfusion seemed to melt away, replaced by a gentle strength. He could feel Sarah's gratitude not just in words, but in a tangible pulse of energy. His actions had earned more than thanks. They had earned trust, connection, and a bond that crossed species. Sarah turned to her mother, and the elder nodded. "He is part of our family now," she said. "The link formed between you is rare and sacred. Your blood has mingled with hers, and through it a harmony has begun. You have given life, and now you share in it." Eli swallowed hard. He had expected gratitude, perhaps a medal or a simple acknowledgement. He had not expected this, an entirely new understanding of life itself. The concept of sharing life force, of becoming part of another being, was foreign to him, yet the sense of unity he felt was undeniable. Days turned into weeks as Eli learned about the Veleran people and their ways. He trained with their healers, learning techniques to stabilize his own body as the alien enzymes adapted to his physiology. Sarah stayed with him at every moment, guiding him gently, showing him the customs and practices of her people. Each interaction strengthened their connection, and Eli realized that this bond was not simply biological. It was emotional, cultural, and spiritual. During a private moment, Sarah led him to a quiet terrace overlooking the city. The sky was alive with stars and the faint glow of the city's energy networks below. She turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting the lights, and held his hands in hers. For the first time, she spoke in broken Terran words. "You saved me," she said. "Now, we share life, together." Eli felt a lump in his throat. He nodded, unsure of how to respond. Words seemed inadequate. Instead, he squeezed her hands gently, letting her feel his promise. The risk he had taken, the hours of pain, the uncertainty, they all led to this moment. He had given blood, yes, but he had also given courage, compassion, and trust. In return, he had received a connection that transcended language, species, and war. News of his actions spread among the Veleran quickly. What had begun as a quiet act of bravery became a symbol of hope. Other survivors from the war, human and alien alike, began to see that cooperation was possible, that kindness could bridge the deepest divides. Eli's choice to save Sarah without hesitation inspired a new wave of diplomacy and cautious peace talks. In formal ceremonies, he was honored not as a human guest, but as part of the Velaran lineage. Sarah's mother presented him with a medallion that shimmered with the same light as her daughter's skin, a symbol of life, trust, and the rare bond they now shared. Eli felt pride swell within him. He had entered the war as a soldier, trained to fight, kill, and survive. He was leaving this chapter not just as a survivor, but as a bridge between worlds. Yet more than honors or symbols, it was Sarah's presence that mattered most. Together they explored the city, shared meals, and learned each other's ways. She taught him to communicate in her language, and he taught her Terran words. They laughed at the awkward mistakes, shared stories of their respective lives, and in those moments, Eli felt a joy he had never known. The bond of life they shared had become a bond of friendship, respect, and something deeper that neither fully understood, but both cherished. One evening, as they walked along a floating bridge above the city, Eli looked at the stars reflecting in Sarah's eyes. "I never expected this," he said softly. "I thought I was just trying to save a life." Sarah smiled, glowing softly in the ambient light. "You did more than save me. You connected our lives. That is far greater than anything else." He realized she was right. In a universe divided by war, by fear, by misunderstanding, a single act of courage had created something powerful: hope, trust, and unity. Humans had a reputation for resilience, for bravery, for compassion, and in this moment, Eli embodied all of it. Months passed and Eli's body stabilized completely. The alien enzymes that had once threatened to overwhelm him now harmonized with his own physiology. He could see in new spectrums of light, sense subtle energy currents, and feel a connection to life forms in ways he never imagined. Sarah was always by his side, guiding him, teaching him, and sharing in every discovery. Finally, the day came when human and Velaran delegations formally signed a peace treaty. Eli stood beside Sarah on the dais, watching as the leaders of two species shook hands. Cameras, drones, and emissaries recorded every moment, yet Eli's attention remained on the small alien girl who had changed everything. Sarah leaned into him slightly, her glow soft and steady. Eli felt her gratitude, her trust, her joy. She did not need words. He understood perfectly. He had given blood, risked his life, and saved her. And she had returned the greatest reward of all: life, trust, and connection that transcended all barriers. As the celebrations began, Eli looked out at the crowds of humans and Velarans mingling together. Smiles, laughter, and cautious conversations filled the air. The war had ended, not with victory over an enemy, but with courage, compassion, and the bond of one human soldier and one alien girl. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges, that other worlds, other conflicts, and other trials awaited. But for the first time in his life, Eli felt certain of something enduring. Humanity's capacity for bravery, kindness, and unity could change even the galaxy itself. And as he watched Sarah glow beside him, he understood that the true reward of his sacrifice was not in recognition, medals, or speeches, but in the shared life, the bond of trust, and the hope that one act of courage could ripple across worlds, connecting species, hearts, and destinies forever. The stars above shone brighter than ever, reflecting not just light but the promise of a future where humans and aliens could stand together, guided by the simple truth Eli had always known: to save a life is to change the universe.